When you are looking at potential candidates' resumes, that's the first part of the question, and then the second part of the question is when you're meeting with them, what are you looking for? So they have to pass the first threshold. If you could talk a little bit about that first threshold, about getting their resume moved forward, and then in order to get out of the interview, what are you looking for?
So I'll start. The main thing, and this has changed recently with us. It used to be that human resources had the minimum requirements for the job description, and they were looking at everything and looking for one-on-one. It's loosened up a little bit more recently where I get to do that, and I'm still doing that. But at the same time, if I can read in what you meant, then sometimes I have a little more leniency than they do. But I would say in general, as a rule of thumb, speak to the job description's minimum requirements, because if you're not meeting those in some way, then you won't be considered. And it may be that it's not a strong suit for you, but speak to whatever you've got, bring it. So that's the one thing. First thing is minimum requirements. Second thing I'm looking for is to see whether or not, well, I'll tell you what gets the resume pushed to the side immediately. If the person did not modify their resume for the position, I got somebody whose only experience was in mining, and it makes you wonder, like, why would you even bother to spend the 10 minutes that it took for you to send it in if you're not even going to change it, to be from a mining engineer to a supervisor for a zero-waste cement crew. Very little overlap, which I imagine. So speak to the job, modify your resume and cover letter for every single job. The more that you can do that, and I know it takes time, it's worth it, because it's really not even worth the 10 or 15 minutes it takes you if you're not, and that's what it looks like to me. It looks like, oh, this is the same thing as in Dutch places. So those are the main things I'm looking for in the resume and cover letter, and I'll get into some more tips when we get down to that question. And the interview, I'm not necessarily looking for somebody who is just overly eager and confident in all those things. I know there's a whole range of people's capacities, feeling comfortable in an interview. And I get it when people's voice shake a little. It's totally fine by me. I think it's endearing. But what I am looking for is concise information. So be prepared, have an idea of what the questions might be, speak to what the questions are. If you need to, bring a notepad and write them down. Or if you really didn't get it, ask the question, can you repeat that question again? Because if it seems like I've asked a couple questions and you haven't really hit the mark, you're not going to get a chance. So those are the things I would recommend. Be concise, be clear, and answer the questions as they were asked, whatever it takes to be able to do that.
For me, HR goes through the resumes before I see them, and then so I don't have the first take on it. But the same as you said applies to me. If I see that you need to take the time to change the resume based on what position you're applying for. We had a person just recently applied for 2 jobs and he didn't even change the job title, and that's something that to me is, if I look for somebody that pays attention to detail, then that's not what I'm looking for. So little details, or I also look at spelling and capitalizing and just being consistent, and even like how's the format, as a professional, then you do a PDF file and not just a Word document. It might be just as simple, because if I get it and it's all moved around, leave a good impression. As far as in the interview, I don't mind it either. If people are nervous, I think that's fine. I think professional appearance is really important to me, and that could be just like how they're dressed, and how if things fit together and they don't come across sloppy. I would also recommend that read the job description and kind of prepare what kind of questions there could be. Like if one of the job description is I'm responsible to supervise 4 members, then I can maybe think that a question could be like, imagine you have a difficult situation with a 4 member, like how could you see yourself react to it? somebody's home spot behind the van, you know, what would you do? So I think it'd be good to just kind of think through, well, yeah, this is what my job would be like, and what would be the issues that that come up.
So what I didn't